So that took us into the match that was so obvious they didn't even have to have.
Yeah.
Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Interim AEW World Championship, where the winner is the Interim Champion and will face Punk at a later date.
This was a good match. This was a really good match. Better than I thought it was going to be.
Look, it was good, but they need Moxley being busted open.
Oh, look, Moxley, that's his MO. You know, that's his whole thing. You know, hard fight, hard street, busted open. So he's the poor man Sandman. I say that all the time. Yeah. He's a poor man Sandman.
Yeah, which
he must have been a big Sandman mark when he was younger, because he does a lot of things the Sandman does.
He was just evident as he was walking through the crowd. Like, that's what Sandman is.
Just the bleeding. Sandman bled all the time. Probably technically better than Sandman. Probably, you know, like wrestling, move for move, that kind of thing, wrestling for wrestling. But very similar to Sandman. He's not a technical wrestler. He's a brawler. He just brawls. Right?
At least the one thing we can say, at least with Moxley, is that he's not drunk in the ring, whereas Sandman was.
Well, this is true. But Tanahashi's a legend.
Oh, yeah.
I would have, you know, I mean, it probably wasn't going to happen because of the political side of things between New Japan and AEW and everything else. But Tanahashi winning that title, and defending that title from a few really good guys, and then CM Punk coming back and going into Tokyo Stadium, CM Punk versus Tanahashi.
Oh, yeah.
You know, AEW v New Japan at Tokyo. It makes my mouth drool thinking about it, to be honest with you. I'm thinking, because we all knew, you and I both said, it's going to be Moxley that's going to go over, because it's obvious, it's right? And it's for the interim title, so you can't do a stooge finish where you say, you know, Moxley's bleeding too much and it's no contest or anything like that. You can't do much about it. It's got to be a winner.
Yeah.
Right, and Tanahashi is a face. Moxley is a face and isn't a face. I don't know. I don't get that whole. There's too many at the moment. There's too many tweeners. You don't know who's doing what.
Yeah,
AEW. But I was hoping that Tanahashi was going to win, and not that I dislike Moxley. Just the following on match.
Yeah, that
build up. Imagine Danielson comes back and he beats Danielson. Then you get maybe Sabre joins a Blackpool club. Fight Club or Combat Club, where they call themselves, and he beats Sabre. Then he beats freaking World Castagnoli, and then he beats Danielson in a big one, and then Punk comes back and he wrestles Danielson. And even if he lost to Punk, he's had a great run getting there.
Yeah,
and it's a big money match. I think they've missed the boat with that. I think that Tony Khan. I don't think he's thought this out. I don't think he's thought Moxley ain't going to draw you any more money than he's given you.
No.
CM Punk is a draw.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. And CM Punk, and everything that Tony went a bit Tourette's in that interview last show over freaking World, what Eric Bischoff had to say. Who the fuck is Eric Bischoff?
Look, it's valid what he said, not going to lie.
No, it's not valid what Eric Bischoff said. No. What Tony said. What Tony said. But in today's wrestling, look, I will give Eric Bischoff this. Back in the 90s, there would have been better business done and more business done back then on this kind of thing that come, say a wrestler going from one promotion to another or coming back to a promotion. But then again, the market was a lot bigger back then. Right? Yeah. And you had the feuds happening with WWE at the time. So there was a lot of interest in pro wrestling. You were averaging 8 million views on your television program, you know, a night.
Yeah.
Now they're averaging 1.5. So the market back then was huge for wrestling. Wrestling was hot. But there's not another guy on the planet that's going to move the needle like CM Punk.
No.
Nobody. Because he's come back after 8 or 10 years. He didn't come in and get the belt straight away. He come in and worked his way up, right? A real babyface style of doing things. He's got the crowd in his hand when he talks. He's the man. Whoever's in that promotion at the moment, if they can stand up and say, I'm the man, I think they're dreaming. The only other guy who could probably stand up and say that is probably MJF.
Yeah.
Which we don't know what the fuck is going on there, right? But I think to come back and say, I'm going to Moxley and him are not. Moxley's not going to move the needle. He'll move the needle, Punk, but Moxley's not going to move the needle.
No.
I think they would have been better, him and Danielson.
Yeah.
Right? Or him and Tanahashi, him and Okada would have drew big money in Japan.
Yeah.
Looking for a one-match big money, who's the true champion? There's a lot better choices than Moxley. But I guess Moxley's a safe choice. He's not going anywhere.
Oh, yeah,
he can't hold you up or anything for cash or anything like that, or say I'm not doing it, or promoters change their mind, because when you're dealing with New Japan and then want to have a fallout, all of a sudden he can't come work for you, so you've lost all that storyline. So safe-wise, but I still think that Danielson would have been safer than him, or go for Danielson and somebody under a mask and work out your differences with MJF. The guy under the mask is MJF. It's now, who's the real champ, MJF or CM Punk? There's a lot of other ways that could have went about this, such Moxley is so safe. It's almost boring. It's boring.
Well, I called it I called it like weeks before it was going to happen. I said, "Watch, they'll put Moxley over."
Yeah, you're right, 100%. Yeah.
I think at one point, if Punk didn't have whatever his injury was, it was going to be Tanahashi versus Punk in the main event of that show.
That would have been great. That would have been a great. That would have been a great match. That would have been great because Tanahashi's a legend. He's a legend.
Oh yeah,
right. And it would have drew money, especially when the Japanese fans would have drew money. Your pay-per-view buys in Japan would have been huge because everyone wants to see Punk work and everyone wants to see him work. Or Danielson's the other guy.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Fate had a different course, and then we got this match, which again was painfully obvious. But look, it was a great match. I was going to give it a 7, but I took off a point for the fact that Jon Moxley bled because that didn't really need to be there, so I gave it a 6.
I gave it a 7. I thought it was worth a 7 all day long. Moxley's that kind of guy. Like I said, he's the poor man. He's the poor man's Sandman. So, he's always going to, his style is going to work. He's going to go, when he starts walking across the top of barricades and cages and stuff, then you really know he's gone full Sandman.
Oh, yeah.
But he is. And that's what you're going to get from Moxley. You know what you're going to get from Moxley. WWE tried to curve him and not have him go down that route, but you can see his natural tendency is to be like that, how he wants to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, I think it's a safe bet, but I don't think it's the right bet.
One thing that also, it pained me was that it was so obvious. And, I hate when matches are so obvious.
Oh, the outcome?
Yeah.
That's why that's why sometimes I wish the promoter or the booker would throw that curveball in there.
Yeah.
Even if they gave, let's say they gave the win to Tanahashi, but it was on a DQ or on something that he couldn't get the belt on, but something that, but a different. I would have liked to have the belt. I would have put the belt on him, but obviously, because of political reasons, that's what didn't happen. But you would sign Tanahashi to a 6-month good contract with, if he could do it with New Japan and say, I sign him for 6 months and you can have him straight back, at the end of the 6 months and I want him for this period of time, and done a deal with, and like I said, with Tony Khan, he's got the money.
Yeah, of course.
And that would have made him money, so it wouldn't have been a loss of money, even if they said, Tanahashi at $200,000 for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Let's say that was put up, right? He'll make that more than that back in his pay-per-view buys when he sells it in Japan.
Oh, no doubt.
If anything, this show helped out New Japan more than it helped out AEW. Because they've introduced all their stars back to the US market.
Oh, yeah.
So they could go over there and do a show there now with Tanahashi, Okada, what's the other guy? Shooter, all those guys. And they're already known. to the US market now. They're already known. So, you've got 3 or 4 people on that card now, Suzuki and that are known to the US market, that they've just built up the talent market for, So you would have, they would have done the deal with Tanahashi because they would have just got him more over, and they come over there with a former US interim champion. So it works out well for New Japan.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I noticed throughout the card. It was very rare, aside from Ospreay, Jay White, the team of Jericho, and
that was the Wizard.
Yeah,
you can't beat Mr. Wizard, the Wizard of Oz. That's what he is, the Wizard of Oz. Hides behind a sheet and handles a big machine. Is really a little man.
I don't understand where, like, I understand that Jericho reinvents himself, but I think he has gone to the point where he can't go anywhere now with this Wizard gimmick.
I think he needs to reinvent himself into a person that is not a stooge. I think that's his next thing. I invent myself into not being a stooge.
But aside from that, I actually enjoyed this pay-per-view better than the last one we reviewed, which was
This is the best pay-per-view I've seen all year.
Oh,
I'm saying that. Even better. No, it's even better than anything the WWE has put out. I enjoyed it more.
Oh yeah, it was a lot more happening. It was a lot more even the crowd was loving that too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more. I enjoyed it a lot more than WrestleMania. I enjoyed it a lot more than what was the other one we watched recently too?
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I enjoyed it much more than that. I actually enjoyed the show. I sat there and there wasn't a match I was going to sleep in.
No.
Every match had me. Some of the WWE ones of recent times, especially with Edge, just like warm milk, it starts putting me to sleep. I start to doze off. So, the show all the way through, I was just up for it. From the first match, I was up for it. And like I said, Mr. Wizard wasn't the greatest match of all time anyway.
Oh, no.
But it still had me going. So overall show, I'll give it 8 out of 10.
Oh, no doubt, I'll give it 8 out of 10 as well.
And I suggest anyone that listens to this podcast, go watch it. Go and pay for it. Find it online for free. Whatever you're going to do, watch it. Because I think that AEW is definitely, they did. And the thing about this show is, no Punk, no Bryant,
and it's still managed to pull it off.
No MJF,
and it's still managed to pull it off.
No Wardlow.
Oh yeah, Wardlow wasn't even mentioned.
No Wardlow, right? And they still pulled off a great card. So their talent roster is deep.
Oh yeah.